Most traits are polygenic, meaning that they're affected by more than one gene. For example, height in humans. Many genes have an influence on just that one trait. In this case, selection operates on all the genes for that trait, especially influencing those that contribute most. The changes in the population occur depending on which genotypes are favored. We can see three patterns of selection here, either disruptive, directional, or stabilizing. In disruptive selection, we see action to eliminate intermediate types, the mean or the average. A good example is different bill sizes in the African black-bellied seed cracker finch. The seeds that are available as food for this species of bird fall into two categories, either large seeds or small seeds. And we see selection for bill size favoring either large bills to deal with the large seeds or small bills to deal with the small seeds. There are very few individuals present that have an intermediate size between the two because intermediate bill size is at a disadvantage. Birds with intermediate bill size can't open large seeds because they're not strong enough. They're too clumsy to open small seeds. Right, so we either see very large bills or very small bills, not much in between. Directional selection acts to eliminate one extreme or another. So in other words, we're seeing movement in one direction. Genes promoting one extreme become less frequent in the population and may eventually disappear. So for example, in that past example with the birds, if climate change eliminated just small seeds, we'd see directional selection towards larger bill size. This often occurs in nature when the environment changes. An example from your book is actually an artificial experiment in Drosophila, the fruit fly, artificially selecting against flies that move towards light. And once you do this for enough time, enough generations, you'll see fewer that have that behavior. So that is this experiment here. You remove the flies that move towards light, and after 20 generations or so, you're going to see a sharp reduction in flies that move towards the light. Finally, stabilizing selection stabilizes the population by acting to eliminate both extremes. Another way to say it is that stabilizing selection makes the intermediate or the mean more common by eliminating the extremes. This prevents a change from that middle range of values. Good example is in humans, infants with intermediate weight at birth have a higher survival rate than infants that are too small or too large. We actually see this with a lot of birds, like ducks and chickens, where eggs of an intermediate weight have a higher hatching success than either extreme. Right, so birth weight tends to hover around 7 pounds or so. Smaller and larger babies have a lower survival rate. Now, more recently with medical intervention, smaller and larger babies have a much higher likelihood of survival. So this pattern can disappear. Finally, how do we study evolution? Traditionally, biologists have looked at what has already happened, either looking at fossils using observation instead of experimentation, or looking at the accumulation of mutations in DNA evidence. Darwin himself thought that evolution occurred at an extremely slow pace. However, more recent studies have shown that evolution can occur rapidly given the right situation, so it is possible to set up experiments to study it. One example is looking at fish. The coloration in guppies, which are common aquarium fish, but they're found naturally in small streams in South America as well as Trinidad. Guppies and some other fish are capable of colonizing portions of streams above waterfalls, basically getting over that waterfall and getting into the pond above the waterfall. They have different dispersal methods. Guppies are capable of swimming through secondary streams whenever it rains heavily. Guppies are really good at swimming upstream through these streams. Other species may not be able to make it upstream. So this waterfall is a dispersal barrier that's creating two different environments, an environment above the waterfall and an environment below the waterfall with two different assemblages of species. Most notably, predators are rare above the waterfall. So this is essentially a natural experiment that's based on the selection pressures that are due to different assemblages of predators. Pike cichlid. This is a voracious predator on guppies, and it's not very good at getting above the waterfall. So while we do find it in the streams below a waterfall, it is rare above waterfalls. Killifish. These occur both above and below waterfalls. They're capable of wriggling above the waterfall on rainy nights, just kind of walking on land, if you will, crawling through damp leaf litter. However, while it is a predator, it rarely preys on guppies. So, because of this difference in what predator we find where, we see that male guppies below waterfalls are more drab, they are smaller as adults, and they reproduce earlier. And this is likely due to the increased predation we see by the pike cichlid. Colorful fish attract predators, and predation will kill those fish early. Energy is used towards reproduction, not size. However, pike cichlids are rare above the waterfall, and their male guppies are more colorful, they mature later, and they are larger as adults. That decreased predation pressure is thought to have resulted in more colors, patterns that attract the females, and then larger males also get and hold on better to territories, and large females are capable of producing more eggs. So that seems pretty clear cut, right? Wherever we see the pike cichlid, we see small, drab, short-lived guppies. Above waterfalls where there is no pike cichlid, we see colorful, larger, longer-lived guppies. However, whenever you study something in nature, there are other factors that come to play. Maybe other possible explanations for your results. Maybe only big fish can make it up past the waterfalls, right? So they end up having bigger offspring. So to really clarify the result, scientists set up a lab study with 10 large pools, about 200 guppies per pool. To 4 pools, they added pike cichlids. To 4 other pools, they added killifish. And then 2 were left as predator-free controls with just guppies. About 14 months and 10 generations later, scientists realized that the guppies in both killifish and control pools were large and colorful, while the guppies that were in the pools where pike cichlids were present were smaller and drab. So with this more controlled experiment, scientists were able to establish that predation can result in very rapid evolutionary change, and that evolution over a short time span is possible. And this is just a figure from your book that illustrates this. The guppies from no predation and killifish pools are basically indistinguishable, whereas guppies where there were pike cichlids are much drabber, less spots and less coloration.